Far beyond the known star systems, in the cold silence of deep space, Commander Kayla, a warrior from the proud and disciplined Xerian race, was on a routine patrol near the outer edges of her territory. The Xerians were known across many galaxies for their strength, honor, and a mysterious psychic ability that allowed them to sense emotions and thoughts of others, but only with training and control. Kayla was one of the best focused, calm, and cautious. On this quiet mission, her ship's sensors suddenly picked up a faint signal of distress call coming from an unknown vessel drifting nearby. As she approached, Kayla saw a small, battered ship that didn't match anything from her records. It was human. The humans were a young race in space exploration, often unpredictable, but with a reputation for surprising resilience. Kayla decided to make contact. Intrigued by the lone ship and her vast patrol area, Lieutenant Mark, captain of the human vessel, had been struggling to keep his ship alive after a sudden technical failure left them stranded near Xerian space. His ship's power was low, and the crew was anxious. When Kayla's ship appeared on the scanners, Mark's first reaction was caution mixed with hope that these aliens might help. But caution because humans had learned the hard way that not all encounters with other species ended well. Mark prepared to communicate with Kayla, careful to show respect, but ready to defend his crew if needed. The first meeting happened in the neutral space between their ships. It's a zone where both sides could see each other, but no weapons would fire. Kayla's tall, armored form stood on her ship's viewing platform, her sharp eyes locked on the human's smaller figure. Mark returned the gaze, trying to hide the nervousness he felt, but failing to keep his thoughts private. The Xerian psychic connection had sparked suddenly and without warning. Kayla's mind involuntarily reached out to his, and what she found surprised her deeply. Unlike the calm, disciplined thoughts she expected from a fellow commander, she was flooded with images of Mark's doubts, fears, and even some very private thoughts he had hoped to keep secret. The nature of these thoughts was not crude, but they revealed a very human side, awkward, honest, and raw. Mark noticed Kayla's sudden pause and confusion. Realizing what had happened, he quickly apologized, his voice sincere, but tinged with embarrassment. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to see that," he said. Humans have a defense mechanism, a way to keep their minds safe after years of war and danger. Sometimes, when stressed, thoughts get tangled up. It's not polite, but it's natural. Hope you understand. Kayla, surprised by his honesty, studied him carefully. His apology was genuine, and the openness in his tone was something rare among the species she had encountered. She realized this moment could go many ways. She could be angry and push the humans away, or she could try to learn more about them through this unexpected connection. Instead of withdrawing, Kayla chose curiosity. She stepped closer in the communication channel and said quietly, "Your mind is unlike what I expected. Humans carry their fears and hopes so openly." Mark nodded, relieved to find understanding instead of judgment. "We do. It's part of what makes us who we are," he explained. Their conversation grew deeper as they talked about their races, their histories, and their struggles. Kayla learned that humans had survived countless wars, not because they were the strongest physically, but because they adapted and never gave up hope. Mark listened to Kayla's stories about the Xerians, a warrior race that valued honor above all, and had trained for generations to master their minds and emotions. As the minutes passed, the psychic connection between Kayla and Mark strengthened. No longer an accident, but a deliberate link. Kayla could feel the intensity of Mark's determination, but also his kindness, a side rarely seen by outsiders. Mark found himself fascinated by Kayla's strength and calm, a reminder that even the toughest warriors could be vulnerable. Though their meeting began with tension and surprise, it evolved into a moment of quiet respect. Kayla realized that this first encounter might change everything she thought she knew about humans and her mission near this part of space. Yet, despite the growing connection, both were aware of the risks. Neither fully trusted what they sensed, or understood in the other's mind. Kayla knew some thoughts might be misleading, or influenced by fear, and Mark worried about the unknown abilities of the Xerians. Still, they agreed to keep the channel open, carefully learning how to control the psychic link. They hoped this new understanding might prevent conflict and open the door to cooperation between their species. As Kayla prepared to leave, she glanced back at the human ship and thought about the unexpected feelings stirring within her, a mix of curiosity, respect, and cautious hope. Unknown to them, distant eyes from their own crews watched with suspicion. Some Xerian officers warned Kayla that humans were unpredictable and dangerous. Meanwhile, Mark's crew debated whether trusting an alien warrior was wise or foolish. But both Kayla and Mark felt something rare, an opportunity to bridge two very different worlds, beginning with a simple apology and a shared secret thought. This moment in the vast emptiness of space was just the start of a journey neither of them could have predicted. A journey where understanding minds would be as important as wielding weapons. After their unexpected first contact, Lieutenant Mark felt a deep wave of vulnerability wash over him. The moment Kayla had glimpsed into his thoughts, unfiltered, raw, and personal, left him feeling exposed in a way he never had before. Humans were private by nature, especially leaders like him who carried the heavy weight of responsibility for their crew's safety, but Kayla had seen more than just his fears and doubts. She had seen the essence of who he was. Mark's voice was steady but sincere when he apologized, his words filled with honesty and a quiet regret. "I'm truly sorry you had to see those parts of me that I keep hidden. It was not my intention to invade your privacy like that." To Mark's surprise, Kayla did not respond with anger or coldness. Instead, she showed something he rarely encountered in the vast coldness of space understanding. Her eyes softened, and there was a flicker of something almost like respect. This unexpected reaction sparked a strange feeling of camaraderie between the two leaders, as if the accidental psychic link had uncovered a shared truth about trust and openness. Kayla, despite her disciplined upbringing and warrior instincts, found herself intrigued by Mark's humility. It was rare for anyone to admit fault so openly, especially in their line of duty. Rather than withdrawing, she proposed something unusual and bold, a controlled exchange of thoughts, done voluntarily and with clear boundaries. This, she explained, could be a way for both to better understand each other's minds and cultures without fear or misunderstanding. Mark listened intently, sensing that this was more than a simple suggestion. It was an invitation to build a bridge between their very different worlds. Hesitant but curious, Mark agreed, knowing that this experiment could either lead to greater peace or unexpected danger. Their agreement marked the start of a new kind of connection, one that went beyond words or signals, diving deep into the essence of their beings. Over the next days, they began training together to manage the psychic link. At first, the exchange was awkward. Neither fully trusted what they felt or thought, and their minds struggled to align without overwhelming each other. Kayla taught Mark how to focus and control his emotions to prevent accidental leaks, while Mark shared techniques from human psychology that helped calm his thoughts. Slowly, they learned to share not only thoughts, but emotions and memories, opening a window into their pasts and hopes for the future. Through this intimate connection, Kayla experienced the warmth of human humor and creativity, the way Mark's mind could imagine countless possibilities even in difficult times. Mark, in turn, admired Kayla's discipline and clarity, the way her thoughts flowed like a well-trained river, strong but steady. The training sessions became moments of surprising discovery, revealing that, despite their different appearances and histories, both were driven by a desire for peace and understanding. However, their growing bond did not go unnoticed. Skepticism and caution from their respective crews. Some Xerian officers whispered concerns that sharing minds with a human was risky and could expose them to manipulation. Mark's crew, too, worried that opening their captain's mind to an alien might lead to mental invasion or worse. Yet Kayla and Mark remained steadfast, focusing on the potential for good rather than the fear of the unknown. Each session strengthened their trust, showing them that vulnerability could be a source of power, not weakness. Their connection began to transcend cultural barriers, blending the strength of Xerian honor with the human spirit of resilience. As they continued their mental exchanges, moments of silence became shared experiences rather than gaps in communication. They learned to read each other's subtle thoughts and feelings before words were even spoken aloud. It was during one such moment that Kayla realized how much she valued this connection. The alien warrior, trained to hide emotions and keep her mind guarded, felt a rare openness blossoming inside her. Mark, too, found himself changing, becoming more patient, more understanding of the unknown challenges his crew faced every day. Together, they imagined a future where their two species could work side by side, learning from each other's strengths and compensating for weaknesses. But amid this growing hope, the shadow of doubt lingered. Both knew that their bond was fragile, built on trust that could be shattered by fear or misunderstanding. They were pioneers on a new path, balancing the promise of friendship against the risks of the vast unknown. Still, they chose to believe in each other, finding courage in the shared experience of opening their minds and hearts. This choice, they hoped, would light the way for others to follow. As the days passed and their psychic connection deepened, Kayla and Mark found themselves traveling further into each other's minds, exploring not only thoughts but entire worlds, shaped by different cultures, emotions, and beliefs. Their shared mental space became a place of discovery, where the walls between their species began to crumble, revealing the surprising ways humans and Xerians were both alike and different. Mark was fascinated by Kayla's disciplined mind, a warrior trained for years to master her emotions and control every impulse. Her focus was sharp, and her decisions came from a place of honor and responsibility. Mark admired this strength because it reminded him of the many leaders in human history who had shaped their world through courage and steady will. Yet, what truly caught his attention was how Kayla balanced her warrior spirit with moments of unexpected warmth and humor during their exchanges. On the other side, Kayla was captivated by the creativity that filled Mark's thoughts. Humans had a way of seeing the world that was fluid and imaginative, turning obstacles into opportunities with a spark that the Xerians rarely expressed. She was impressed by human resilience, the ability to adapt quickly to change, to think outside the box, and to find hope, even in the darkest moments. This creativity contrasted sharply with her own race's structured and rigid way of life, where rules and tradition guided every action. The more they shared, the more they realized that these differences were not weaknesses but strengths that could complement one another. Their conversations flowed like a dance, sometimes clashing but often weaving into patterns that neither had expected. Ideas about how their two races could cooperate began to form naturally. Mark suggested ways humans could benefit from Xerian discipline and training, especially in situations requiring patience and control. Kayla, in turn, offered insights on how the Xerians could embrace a bit more flexibility and innovation in their tactics, something humans excelled at. Together, they dreamed of a future where humans and Xerians could work side by side, learning from one another and growing stronger as allies. However, this growing partnership was not without its challenges. Both Kayla and Mark faced skepticism from their colleagues and commanders, who viewed the alliance as risky and unproven. On the Xerian ship, officers whispered that sharing minds with a human could lead to manipulation or betrayal. They feared that Mark's unpredictable nature might disrupt their carefully maintained order. On the human side, crew members worried that Kayla's psychic abilities could invade their privacy or influence their thoughts without consent. Some even questioned whether Mark was risking too much by trusting an alien so deeply. These doubts created tension, making every meeting between Kayla and Mark a test not just of their bond but of their courage to stand against suspicion and fear. Despite the pressure, Kayla and Mark refused to give up. They believed that their connection could show others the value of understanding over judgment, of trust over fear. As they continued to train and exchange thoughts, they developed new methods to protect their privacy while still allowing the flow of ideas and feelings that built their relationship. This delicate balance became a symbol of hope for both their crews. In one particularly memorable exchange, Kayla shared a memory of her first battle, the fear she felt despite her training, and the pride that came from standing strong for her people. Mark responded with a story about a moment when he had almost lost his crew during a space storm but found a way to guide them safely through sheer determination and quick thinking. These stories, shared in the quiet space of their minds, bridged the gap between their experiences and made their worlds feel smaller and more connected. As their bond grew, so did their understanding of what it meant to be warriors and leaders in different ways. Kayla learned to appreciate the value of flexibility and emotional openness, while Mark embraced the strength found in discipline and mental control. Together, they've built a foundation for a new kind of alliance, one based not just on strategy and power, but on empathy and mutual respect. Yet the future remained uncertain. The galaxy was vast, and not all were ready to accept the friendship, blossoming between a human and a Xerian. Kayla and Mark knew they would face many more challenges ahead. From political rivals to hidden enemies who would try to exploit their connection for their own gain. Still, they held on to the belief that discovering strength in their differences was the key to surviving and thriving in a universe that often seemed designed to keep species apart. In the quiet moments between battles and strategy sessions, they found comfort in knowing that they were no longer alone. Their minds intertwined, sharing hope and courage, ready to face whatever came next together, far beyond the peaceful corners of space where Kayla and Mark had begun to build their fragile alliance. A new danger was brewing, an enemy neither of their species had faced before, and one that threatened everything they had worked for. The hostile faction, known as the Vraxis, was ruthless and cunning, attacking without warning and showing no mercy to those who stood in their way. Their goal was to dominate the region and crush any attempts at cooperation between other species. When word of the Vraxis fleet's approach reached Kayla and Mark, it was clear that their isolated partnership would be tested like never before. The Xerians, known for their strength in battle, prepared their warships with precision, while the humans readied their vessels with ingenuity and adaptability. But this time, the enemy was too powerful for either to face alone. Kayla and Mark knew that their psychic link, once a secret experiment, had become a crucial tool that could turn the tide of the conflict. Their minds had grown to trust each other in ways few could understand, sharing not just information but emotions and strategies at speeds no communication device could match. In the quiet moments before the battle, they connected mentally, synchronizing their thoughts and plans. Kayla's calm and disciplined mind brought clarity to Mark's quick and flexible thinking, creating a balance that was powerful and rare. They devised a plan that used the best of both species, the Xerians' disciplined formations and strength, combined with the humans' unpredictability and creative tactics. Together, they predicted the Vraxis movements, anticipated their strikes, and adapted faster than any enemy could respond. As the battle began, Kayla and Mark led their combined fleets into the fray. Their psychic link allowed them to coordinate maneuvers with perfect timing, avoiding traps and turning the enemy's aggression against them. The crews, inspired by the visible cooperation of their leaders, fought with renewed courage, each ship supporting the other with precision and determination. The battle was fierce and long, testing every skill they had. But the trust between Kayla and Mark shone like a beacon, guiding their forces through the chaos. At a critical moment, Kayla sensed a hidden ambush and warned Mark instantly through their mental connection. Mark responded with a bold counterattack that caught the Vraxis off guard, breaking their formation and forcing them to retreat. Their victory was not just a win in battle, but a triumph of unity and understanding between two very different species. The success of the mission earned Kayla and Mark respect from their peers and commanders alike. Where there had once been doubt and suspicion, there was now admiration for what humans and Xerians could achieve together. This battle became a turning point, showing that cooperation and trust could overcome even the deadliest threats. Following the battle, discussions began about formal alliances and joint missions. Inspired by the example set by Kayla and Mark, their bond, once questioned and criticized, became a symbol of hope for a future where differences were not barriers but bridges. Despite the dangers still lurking in the galaxy, the warrior and the human captain stood united, ready to face whatever came next, proving that strength came not just from weapons or power, but from understanding and trust shared across worlds. In the quiet aftermath of the fierce battle against the Vraxis, A new sense of calm settled over the allied fleets of humans and Xerians. And it was within this peace that Kayla and Mark found themselves reflecting on everything they had been through together. The psychic link that had once been an unexpected and awkward connection had grown into something far more meaningful, a deep friendship that defied the vast differences between their species and cultures. Both had started as cautious strangers, bound by duty and suspicion, but now they shared a bond built on trust, understanding, and a profound respect for each other's strengths and vulnerabilities. Their connection had not only saved lives during the conflict, but had also opened a door to possibilities neither had imagined. As they continued to explore the depths of their shared mental space, they discovered how much empathy and cooperation could transform fear into hope. Kayla was amazed by how Mark's human creativity and emotional openness challenged her to rethink the rigid rules she had followed all her life. Mark, in turn, found strength in Kayla's unwavering discipline and honor qualities that grounded him when decisions became difficult. Together, they balanced each other like two halves of a whole, learning lessons that extended beyond tactics and strategy into the very essence of leadership and friendship. Their story began to spread throughout their fleets and beyond, inspiring others to question long-held prejudices and to look for common ground where none seemed possible before. Soldiers, scientists, and leaders from both species started initiatives aimed at fostering more cooperation. Joint training programs were established to teach the values of trust and unity that Kayla and Mark embodied. Despite the challenges that remained in a galaxy full of unknown threats, their example became a beacon of hope, a reminder that peace was not just the absence of war, but the presence of connection between different worlds. One evening, standing side by side on the observation deck of their shared command ship, Kayla and Mark gazed out at the endless stars scattered across the dark canvas of space. The stars, distant and silent, seemed to hold the promise of countless adventures yet to come. But now those adventures felt less daunting. Where once they had faced the cosmos alone and divided, they now faced it together, united by the bridge they had built between their minds and hearts. As they looked upward, neither spoke, yet their minds communicated a shared vision of future, where humans and Xerians fought not against each other, but side by side, protecting the fragile peace they had won, and building a universe where diversity was celebrated rather than feared. It was a future that seemed fragile but real, held in the quiet hope of two leaders who had dared to trust and to open their minds in a way that no one had expected. In that moment, the stars were no longer just distant lights. They were symbols of a new beginning, a journey toward understanding and unity that would shape the course of history for generations to come. And so, with hope as their guide and friendship as their strength, Kayla and Mark stood ready to face whatever lay ahead, proving that even in the vast loneliness of space, connection could be found, then that connection could change everything.